Hey there, I'm standing on the very busy street Avenida de Liberdade here in downtown Lisbon. And as you can see, it is a very commercial and very busy thoroughfare. But it was a very different environment when we were here on April 25th when the country of Portugal and the citizens of Lisbon celebrated Freedom Day.
Fascismo nunca mais! 25 nunca mais! 25 de Abril sempre! Fascismo nunca mais! 25 de Abril sempre! Fascismo nunca mais! 25 de Abril sempre! Fascismo nunca mais!
A wave of change struck Portugal in the early morning hours of April 25th, 1974, when a military coup overthrew the authoritarian dictatorship that had been in charge for nearly 50 years. But it wasn't only the soldiers who were demanding change. The residents of Portugal exited their homes and walked next to those soldiers, demanding a change in the direction of the country's future. Eventually, the coup became known as the Carnation Revolution. The Carnation Revolution eventually turned the tide and headed Portugal towards a democratic society and eventually reincorporated it back into Greater Europe. And it's called Carnation Revolution because of the actions of one woman named Celeste, who worked in a restaurant here in Lisbon, and she had planned to go to work that day to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of the restaurant being in business. In preparation for that celebration, the business owners had bought some flowers that they planned to give to the customers who came to the restaurant that day. Of course, because of the military coup, the restaurant never opened, and they sent their employees home and told them to take the extra flowers home with them. But Celeste did not go all the way home. In fact, she took the metro and went to Rocio Square, one of our favorite places, and it was there that she saw some soldiers, and she approached them and asked them what was going on. They told her about the military coup, and she handed them carnations, and they put the carnations into the barrels of their guns. This was seen by some others who eventually got carnations, and other flower shops started donating carnations to the citizens of Lisbon and throughout Portugal, who would take them to soldiers, and following suit, they placed them into the barrel of their guns as well. This was a huge movement, and it helped create a bloodless revolution. Only 4 people were killed that day, from what I read. And Celeste was known as Celeste of the Carnations all the way up until her death in late November 2024. One of the most striking things about the revolution is that the soldiers who were charged with protecting the regime in charge refused to fire on civilians, making deaths very minimal and making it a very peaceful protest. Another huge symbol of that day in April is the April 25th Bridge, which is a miniature version of the Golden Gate Bridge that stretches across the Tagus River. The reason that plays such an important part in this is that it is one of the only ways to get to Lisbon from the south side of that river. And during that day, rebel forces actually set up a blockade that prevented troops from coming in to assist the regime, and eventually helping the dictator get turned over to authorities and heading towards democratic society. Immediately after that day, the bridge, which was named for a previous dictator, was rechristened the April 25th Bridge and is still called that to this day. Prior to April 25th, 1974, freedom of the press, freedom to vote, and trade was very limited here in Portugal. But ever since then, it has become a day of national peaceful protest where local citizens promise that they will never allow that to happen again. And every year on April 25th, there are both official and unofficial events that seem to converge on this part of downtown Lisbon with an organized march, both celebrating and commemorating one of the most important days in Portuguese history.
I'm Besta and Steve, and where are we?
We're
Avenida de Liberdade?
We're on Avenida de Liberdade, and it is April the 25th, which is Freedom Day here in Portugal. And there is a parade of sorts happening behind us.
So we never could find out, like, what's their parade is starting at a certain time, what is it, where did it start with anything. And it sort of turned out to be more of a everybody show up, remember this very important day, and sort of very groups are gathering, and
A lot of homemade signs. Of course, the police are here, but it's not like we are used to in the States where a parade steps off and there's a grand marshal and all that stuff. It's a very casual wandering through this area down to Rocio, which is one of our favorite squares. And it's to celebrate the end of a dictatorship and the beginning of the democracy that Portugal has now.
so it's more like a demonstration where everyone gathers. Many people, if not everyone, seems to have a carnation. Of course, that's the Carnation Revolution is what happened in 1974. And now that we're standing here, you can see the police car with the sort of leading this very slow moving procession. It's finally sort of gotten to where we are. So it's more like a demonstration of remembering the importance together.
Yeah, it's very happy. It's very light. Everybody's super friendly and just enjoying their time together, which I love. It's very cool.
Makes us feel wonderful to be here to experience this wonderful, important day in Portuguese history.
Absolutely.
So on that first video, we didn't know what was about to happen. But I want to tell you that what we did see happen turned out to be a very emotional experience for me, because there were so many people. I mean, thousands and thousands of people that slowly walked down the street chanting, singing, holding signs. I found it way more dramatic and meaningful than I expected.
I think we both had in mind what we've seen parades before, where there's organizing and there's floats and there's bands, and it's more of a production, like showbiz production. This felt like it was a very grassroots and very raw kind of experience, which I think kind of set the emotion.
Well, and to that point, you had said when you looked it up, everything said the people of Portugal gather on the avenue, to remember. And that's exactly what happened. They just sort of gathered, and at some point they all started to move, and there were some police sort of helping to block the street, but there was no organization. It was just everybody saying, we're not going to forget, this is important, we love our democracy, we're not going back. There was lots of chanting to those themes.
Well, and there was no official organization. There were small groups that had obviously gotten their groups together, but I kept, I'm always the researcher, and I kept looking online to find, when does the parade start? What is the route? Where do we need to be? And everything was very vague, and I cannot figure out why. Now that we have experienced it, I'm like, oh, I get it. I get what this is now, and it's not what I had in my mind at all.
It's everybody getting together to remember, to demonstrate how important it was. There were people of every age and type and description you can possibly imagine. We saw lots of older people on the metro that were coming here to sit and watch and be a part of it and remember. So I found it very emotional and meaningful for me. And I'm really glad that I am now living in a country that is aware of this, has been through it, is not going to do it again. They are taking care of everyone. They're treating everyone equally and fairly. And the cruelty is in the past.
Yeah, it's all about treating everybody equally and everybody having the rights to live as they want and be who they want to be. And it was interesting. I did notice a lot of different signs had very similar yet different messages, but nobody was offended. Nobody was upset. It was all about, we remember the day that everything changed. And you could tell that there were these older people who had participated in that day.
Clearly.
And had obviously has been taught to the younger generation that, yes, this is as important that we keep moving forward and don't go back to that. So remembering was like the message that I saw.
Yes, it was very meaningful. And thank you to the people of Portugal for being so welcoming, for being so open, for letting everybody live their life and be who they are and embracing everyone. And I love that about the culture here. And
how did you feel being a newbie and not knowing what was going on? I thought that was a very interesting perspective for me.
It was, but that's actually been true of a lot of things that we have done, is that we don't know what we're getting into. We're going to go experience it, and then we learn, oh, this is what this means, or this is how this works. So it felt like another of those, but this one really struck me more than I expected.
Yeah, same here. It was a beautiful day and beautiful people, and I'm glad we got to experience it.
Happy Freedom Day to Portugal.